He stood in front of a camera, smiled that famous smile, and said something that stopped the world. Jon Bon Jovi, the man who spent 4 decades writing love songs, telling working-class couples to hold on, and selling the dream of romance to millions of fans, admitted he got away with murder. He said there may have been 100 girls. He said it with a half grin, like someone finally setting down a weight they had been carrying for years. And the internet caught fire. But here is the part nobody is talking about enough. His wife, Dorothea Hurley, the woman he has been with since high school, the one who was sitting right beside him through all of it. She stayed. She is still there. And when his 36th anniversary came around in April 2025, he posted a photo of 36 red roses and called her the love of his life. The comment sections exploded again, and not with admiration. So what is actually going on inside this marriage? And why does Dorothea keep choosing to stay? The truth is far more layered than any headline can hold. Let's go back to where it all started, because nothing about this story makes sense without understanding who these two people actually are at their core. Jon Bon Jovi was not born into glamour. He grew up in Perth Amboy, New Jersey, the son of 2 former United States Marines. His father was a barber. His mother, Carol, had a fire in her that never went out. She had worked as one of the original Playboy bunnies at the Manhattan Playboy Club when it opened in 1962, the same year Jon was born. She later became a florist, ran businesses, and eventually founded the band's official fan club. Fans called her Mom Jovi. She passed away in July 2024, just 3 days before her 84th birthday, and Jon described her as a force to be reckoned with. That force ran in the family. By the time Jon was 12, he had already formed his first band, entered a school talent contest, and finished last. He did not quit. He kept learning piano and guitar, teaching himself songs, and spending his teenage years playing New Jersey clubs before he was even old enough to be inside them. The ambition was already enormous, and the discipline was already real. Then high school handed him something even more important than music lessons. After being asked to leave St. Joseph High School, Jon transferred to Sayreville War Memorial High School in New Jersey. And in 1980, sitting in a history class, he met Dorothea Hurley. The story is almost too simple to believe. He was struggling with the subject. She let him copy her work. He said later that he was drawn to her from the moment he saw her, and that the feeling never left. Dorothea was not the kind of girl who was going to be swept away by someone else's dreams. She trained in karate, earned a 4th-degree black belt, and worked as a karate instructor. She had her own strength, her own direction, and her own identity. She knew the real Jon before the crowds, before the posters, and before the arenas. That mattered more than people realize. She was never going to be just an accessory to someone else's spotlight. But love does not travel in a straight line, especially when fame is on the way. In 1985, they briefly broke up. Jon dated actress Diane Lane for around 5 months. And for a moment, it genuinely looked like it was over. But the time apart showed them what they actually meant to each other, and they found their way back. As Jon's career climbed, that foundation between them became the one thing that nothing could fully shake. The rise of Bon Jovi is the kind of story that sounds like it was written in a movie. Rejections from major labels. A demo handed directly to a radio DJ. A song called Runaway landing on a local compilation. A band scrambling to form around a track that was already gaining attention. Then Slippery, when Wet arrived in 1986, built in Richie Sambora's mother's basement, recorded in Vancouver, and it detonated. 8 weeks at #1 on the Billboard 200. The best-selling album of 1987 in the United States. Arenas filling everywhere. Living on a Prayer, You Give Love a Bad Name. And suddenly Jon Bon Jovi was not just a rock star. He was a symbol. And that is exactly when the marriage surprised everyone. On April 29, 1989, in the middle of a sold-out tour run in Los Angeles, Jon looked at Dorothea and told her he needed a higher high. He had an idea. Vegas. Now, she thought he was out of his mind. He meant it completely. They slipped away, got married at the Graceland Wedding Chapel, told nobody, not the manager, not the band, not their parents, and used a cab driver as their witness. They did not even have rings. When news of the elopement came out, it shocked almost everybody around them: the band, management, agents, lawyers, and even their parents. News the industry wanted Jon to appear available, to sell the fantasy of the unattached rock star. He refused to live that way. He stood up and said they were not going to live their life for anyone else. But the road was still the road, and the road had its own rules. 14 major tours between 1984 and 2015, 52 countries. One stretch from 1988 to 1990 packed 237 shows into 16 months. By the time they played their final show of the New Jersey Syndicate Tour, the band was so drained they could barely speak to each other. And somewhere inside all of that noise, behind all of those nights, Jon was not the saint the love songs made him out to be. He had been dropping hints for years. In 2006, he admitted to an Irish publication that he had lapses with other women, framing it as part of the music business. In 2010, he told Men's Health he had missed birthdays and school plays and was not a saint, but he did not go into detail. Then, in April 2024, the wall came down completely. Sitting down with Michael Strahan for an ABC special titled Halfway There, Jon said he got away with murder. He called himself a rock and roll star, not a saint, and said he was not claiming there weren't 100 girls in his life. Fox News, he said it out loud, with his name attached, in front of cameras, and then added that he was never going to let the narcissist in him destroy what he had built at home. The comments online split immediately. Some people called it honesty. Others called it pride. A lot of people simply wondered how Dorothea was sitting with those words. Days later, Dorothea was notably absent from the red carpet premiere of the Hulu documentary Thank You, Good Night, the Bon Jovi story. A source said she was dealing with an illness, but the timing, coming days after the confession, was impossible to ignore. The Daily Beast nobody could miss what it looked like. Jon followed up with The Independent that same month, calling it all the wonderful cliches of rock stardom, and saying the secret was never lying about having been a saint while also not being foolish enough to destroy the home life. Atlanta Black Star, it was a careful sentence, the kind that tries to explain a mess without owning all of it. Throughout everything, Dorothea never became a public voice in the controversy. She did not give interviews calling him out. She did not post anything pointed on social media. What she did was something harder and quieter. She stayed. And the reasons for that seem to live somewhere deeper than any headline can reach. Jon has credited her stability as the rock of his family, his career, and his being, saying he was grateful for someone he could love and trust. The list, and Dorothea herself, when asked about their marriage, has kept it simple. She called it a partnership. She said they grew up together and grew together, that they genuinely like each other and want to spend time together. It does not sound like a performance. It sounds like two people who built something real enough to survive things that would have ended most other marriages. They also built a family, for children across 11 years. Stephanie in 1993, Jesse in 1995, Jake in 2002, and Romeo in 2004. Jon has admitted he left for tours kicking and screaming because he would rather have been home. Dorothea held the house steady. They tried to eat dinner together whenever he was around. They kept the fame from becoming a centerpiece of their home life. Two of the younger boys once turned down coming to a concert. Jon said it kept him humble. And then there were the moments that tested all of it in ways that had nothing to do with infidelity. In November 2012, Jon got a phone call in the middle of the night that he later called the worst of his life. His daughter Stephanie had been found unconscious at her college dorm, having apparently overdosed on heroin. Her first words to him from the hospital were that she was all right. He said even those 3 words carried terror inside them, because it could have gone the other way. He told her to put her shoes on and come home. She eventually transferred schools, graduated in 2017, and Jon said that experience changed him, because he met so many parents who had lived through the same nightmare. Then came the health crisis that nobody expected to threaten his career more than any personal failing ever could. In 2022, during a Nashville arena show, Jon gave everything he had to that crowd and thought the performance had gone well. Then Dorothea told him it was not great, and that she had seen him be great. That conversation was devastating. Yahoo! It was the moment that made denial impossible. One of his vocal cords was atrophying while the stronger one pushed it around. 40 years of performing had worn his voice down in ways that could not be fixed with rest. He tried everything holistically: lasers, acupuncture, vitamins, collagen, and daily exercise, before going back to his doctor and saying he had done everything he knew how to do. Today.com surgery was the only option left. He underwent a medialization thyroplasty, a procedure where a small implant is placed to restore strength to the weakened cord. He described it as a facelift for the vocal cords. And then the real work began. Daily vocal exercises, months of rehabilitation, and a slow climb back toward strength. His drummer Tico Torres said Jon was hitting notes he had not hit since he was young, and the band was proud of him. Today.com Jon set a rule for himself. If he could not be great, he would not go back out. He was not going to stand on a stage as a lesser version of himself. In October 2025, the band announced the Forever Tour, kicking off July 7, 2026, at Madison Square Garden, with dates in Edinburgh, Dublin, and London. Speaking to Savannah Guthrie on Today, Jon said he could confidently go out and deliver 2.5 hours night after night. Today.com The comeback was real, and it felt less like a victory lap and more like a man proving something to himself. Now circle back to April 29, 2025. Exactly 1 year after the confession that made headlines, Jon posted a 3-photo carousel on Instagram. 36 red roses, a throwback photo from their early years. The sign at the Graceland Wedding Chapel, where they had run off together in 1989. The caption said 36 roses for 36 amazing years and wished her a happy anniversary. The comment sections on news sites were loaded with people criticizing the post, pointing back to his admission of cheating with over 100 women and questioning why it should be celebrated. Atlanta Black Star, one commenter wrote that a cheater is a cheater no matter how many times. Another said they saw no reason to celebrate it at all. But Dorothea did not respond. She never does. And somehow that silence says more than any statement could. Jon has said that she is not afraid to call him out when he is wrong, and that she is also there when he falls, just as he is there for her. He said that no matter where his career went, up or down, they went there together. Page 6. There is no clean ending to a story like this one. Jon Bon Jovi is not a saint, and he has stopped pretending otherwise. Dorothea is not a victim waiting to be rescued, and she has never played that role. What they have built across 45 years, from a history class in New Jersey to a chapel in Las Vegas, to a life that survived arenas and exhaustion and infidelity and an overdose and a career-threatening surgery, is something that does not fit neatly into a headline. It is also something that Dorothea herself helped hold together, quietly and consistently, even when the cameras were pointing at someone else. Jon once said the album Forever was really about finding joy again, about what matters in a life. He said it was love, loyalty, and finding things that make you want to get up in the morning. 36 roses, 36 years. Whatever you think of the confession, those two things are both true at the same time. And maybe that is exactly what makes this story so hard to look away from. What do you think? Does honesty save a marriage or just complicate it? Let us know in the comments below. And if you want more stories like this one, make sure you subscribe.